The abandoned child. On the outer rim of the Valian sector, a small, fragile ship drifted silently among the stars. Its cargo hold was empty except for a single child, pale-skinned, wide-eyed, with nothing but a small satchel and a flickering energy collar around their neck. The galaxy had already turned its back on them. The Interstellar Council, the dominant empires, even the nearby colonies, none would intervene. The child had been born with abilities no one fully understood, feared as dangerous, unpredictable, unworthy of protection. Commander Rock of the Dominion Patrol observed the drifting vessel from a nearby war cruiser. "It's just a child," he said, his voice tight. "Why is the Council refusing to respond?" Lieutenant Zyra, his second-in-command, didn't answer. She already knew the answer. "Because," she said finally, voice low, "they call it a carnivore. A threat disguised as a child." The term made no sense. The child had never harmed anyone. But fear had long replaced reason in the galaxy. And so the ship drifted, unclaimed, abandoned, as cold stars spun endlessly around it. On Earth, far across the sector, humans were listening. Or rather, they sensed something unusual. A pattern in the quantum network, a subtle anomaly in the energy signatures of the abandoned vessel. Humanity didn't wait for official reports. They had never waited. Ambassador Elena Voss, stationed aboard the Earth-led exploratory cruiser Aegis, received the first readings. She frowned at the screen, noting the tiny irregular pulses of bioenergy. "That's not normal," she muttered. "Not for any known life form. Someone, or something, is in danger." Her assistant, a young human engineer named Malik, glanced up. "You want to check it out?" "Well, it's an unclaimed space. Officially, no one is supposed to intervene." Elena shook her head. "The galaxy abandoned a child. We don't do that." Her voice carried a quiet authority that Malik had learned not to question. "Prepare a boarding pod. I'm going in." The human vessel adjusted its trajectory, cutting through light years of empty space with precision. Behind them, sensors recorded a trail of faint, alien distress signals. Signals that no one had bothered to respond to. Signals humans would respond to. The child stirred in the cargo hold, eyes snapping open. They sensed something, the approach of beings not driven by fear or self-interest. They had waited for someone like this for a long time, though they didn't know it yet. Outside, the stars shimmered, indifferent. The galaxy had abandoned the child. But humanity was different. The boarding pod detached from the Aegis and zipped toward the abandoned ship. Elena's heart beat steadily, calm in the way that only humans could remain calm when facing unknown dangers. She activated the docking sequence. Inside the pod, Malik turned to her. "You really think they'll accept us?" "They don't have a choice," Elena said simply. "We help." As the pod docked and the airlock hissed open, the child's wide eyes met the humans for the first time. And for the first time, someone smiled at them without fear. Somewhere in the void, the first thread of trust began to form. But the galaxy wouldn't forgive the humans so easily. The cargo hold of the abandoned vessel smelled faintly of ozone and recycled air, a sterile scent that carried the weight of isolation. The child sat on the floor, small hands clutching the satchel as if it were a lifeline. Their energy collar flickered weakly, pulsing with faint red sparks every few seconds. The galaxy had left them alone here, but the humans were different. Ambassador Elena Voss stepped inside the hold first, her boots silent against the metal floor. Behind her, Malik followed, his eyes scanning every corner, every panel. He was the engineer, and engineers always notice things. Wiring, energy readings, the quiet hum of dormant machinery that whispered of potential and danger. The child's wide eyes didn't blink. They weren't afraid, they had learned to survive fear, but they had learned to measure it. Humans were strange, upright, unarmed, yet their presence radiated quiet authority, a confidence that didn't demand submission. "Hello," Elena said gently. Her voice was calm, steady, and the kind of voice that carried reassurance without imposing it. "I'm Ambassador Voss. This is Malik. We're here to help." The child tilted their head slightly, studying them. A flicker of green passed through the energy collar, a sign the humans couldn't interpret yet, but it meant something. The child had a name, but names had become a complicated luxury in the galaxy. Today they would have to respond to something simpler. "You help." The voice was faint, strained, almost mechanical, as if the vocal cords hadn't been used in a long time. The child's voice didn't rise above a whisper, but it carried the weight of survival. "Yes," Elena said simply. "We don't leave anyone behind. Not if we can reach them." She crouched slightly, reducing her height to seem less threatening. "Do you understand that?" Another flicker of green, this time brighter. It was cautious, curious. The child was testing them, sensing whether humans could be trusted. Malik stepped forward with a small device in his hand, a portable energy scanner. I want to make sure you're safe. We're not going to hurt you. The child recoiled slightly at the scanner's light, but they didn't run. That was unusual. Most of the species that had abandoned them would have fled or lashed out by now. Humans were patient. Humans waited. Elena, Malik said quietly, their energy signature, it's not just strong. It's adaptive. It's like it's analyzing us. Elena nodded. Not surprising. They've survived alone this long. That takes awareness, problem solving. They're not just a child, they're a survivor. The child's eyes darted between Elena and Malik. The humans didn't seem afraid, didn't seem to calculate danger in the same way as every other alien species had. That was new. That was interesting. You, a human's carnivore? The child's voice cracked slightly as though saying the word itself was a test. Elena raised an eyebrow, realizing the child had access to fragmented reports from other species. We're adaptable. We survive. But we don't hurt unless necessary. We help those who need it. For a moment, silence filled the hold. The child studied them carefully. Their gaze was intense, almost unnerving. Then the collar's light pulsed slowly, a sign of hesitation, an internal debate. Finally the child spoke. You stay? Yes, Elena said without hesitation. We'll stay. You're not alone anymore. The child's small hand reached out toward the humans, trembling slightly. It was the first act of trust. Malik stepped forward, gently taking the hand. The energy collar's glow shifted, cycling through shades of green and blue, a signal of cautious acceptance. Good, the child whispered. They all left. Everyone left. Their voice carried a lifetime of loneliness, betrayal, and the weight of survival. I need food, shelter, safe. You'll have all that, Elena said. And more. You'll come with us. The child hesitated. Their life had been shaped by fear, by the galaxy's refusal to protect them. Trust didn't come easily. But humans seemed different. And curiosity, that dangerous, irresistible trait, nudged them forward. The journey back to the Aegis was tense but uneventful. The child stayed silent, observing, processing every sound, every movement. Humans didn't rush, didn't panic, they acted with precision and care. That alone was fascinating. Most species that had encountered the child had either fled or attacked. Humans simply adapted. On board the Aegis, the child's eyes widened further. The ship was massive, bustling with activity, yet there was a sense of order, of purpose. Crew members moved efficiently, communicating through a mix of spoken commands and digital displays. The child had never seen anything like it. Welcome aboard, Elena said as she guided the child toward a small observation room. The room overlooked the starfield, but the child barely noticed. They were studying everything, the way humans coordinated, the technology, the patterns of behavior. Everything was data, everything was potential. Name? Malik asked gently, knowing they needed something to anchor the child. The child hesitated. No, name. You'll have one soon, Elena said kindly. But for now, you can just be Kai. Kai, the child repeated. It felt strange on their tongue but not unpleasant. A new identifier. A new beginning. The humans didn't ask why the galaxy had abandoned them. They didn't question their past. They simply acted, and that was the lesson Kai began to understand quickly. Humans didn't just survive, they solved problems, challenges, fear itself. Hours passed as Kai explored the ship under Elena's supervision. Food was offered and Kai accepted cautiously. Water, rest, medical checks, all conducted with patience and care. Humanity had mastered efficiency and compassion. But news of Kai's survival traveled faster than any ship. Alien factions, already wary of humanity, began monitoring the Aegis. Reports reached distant empires. Humans had taken in the carnivorous child. And the reactions were immediate. This cannot be allowed, hissed Commander Viorinen of the Ithri Collective. A human is harboring a potential threat. Their capabilities are unpredictable. We must intervene. Ambassador Keth of the Sorlin Dominion frowned at the reports. We underestimated them, he admitted quietly. They do not act like other species. Their approach is systematic. They do not panic. They do not negotiate with fear. They solve. Back aboard the Aegis, Elena was reviewing Kai's medical and physiological scans. The child's abilities were unlike anything humans had catalogued, Yet they exhibited remarkable adaptive intelligence. Kai, Elena said softly, kneeling to meet their gaze, I need you to understand something. Out there, many species are afraid. They don't know what you are and they assume the worst. But here, with us, you are safe. We will help you learn, grow, and understand your abilities. But you must trust us. Kai's eyes studied her. Then slowly, deliberately they nodded. It was the first act of true trust, the first acknowledgement that humans weren't just another species driven by fear or politics. They were problem solvers, protectors, and allies. Outside the observation window, stars streaked past as the Aegis set a course for a remote human research station. The galaxy had abandoned Kai, but humans had claimed them. And that would change everything. In the distant command centers of alien empires, analysts stared at incoming data, calculations racing through their processors. Humans had done what no one else dared. They had intervened in the fate of a being the galaxy had forsaken. And, in the process, they had demonstrated an efficiency and courage that no faction had anticipated. The child, Kai, leaned against the observation window, staring at the stars and wondering what it meant to belong. For the first time they didn't feel fear. They felt possibility. Humanity had stayed. And in doing so, they had begun a ripple that would reach the farthest corners of the galaxy. Kai had never felt so many eyes on them at once. The observation deck of the Aegis offered a breathtaking view of the nebula-strewn expanse, but their focus wasn't on the stars. It was on the humans moving around them, the quiet hum of machinery, and the way every action seemed purposeful, almost synchronized. Humans were organized, yes, but there was more. They were precise, patient, and relentless in their efficiency. That fascinated Kai. Elena, Kai whispered, their voice barely audible over the soft hum of the ship's engines. Why, you care? Elena turned from the console, her expression gentle. Because it's the right thing to do, she said simply. Because no one deserves to be abandoned. Because you have potential, and it's dangerous to leave it untapped in this galaxy. Kai's small hand clenched the edge of the railing. They had heard similar words from alien species before, but the tone, the certainty, and the lack of hidden agendas made these humans different. It made them believable. That night, Kai slept in a small enclosed room designed for comfort and safety. But sleep was restless. Memories of betrayal, of the cold emptiness when the galaxy had turned away, haunted them. Their mind wandered, weaving possibilities. Humans weren't like the others. They didn't flee, didn't negotiate with fear. They acted. They solved. And that planted a seed. When Kai awoke, they felt it. A tingle beneath the skin, a subtle vibration in their core. It started small, almost imperceptible, but quickly grew. Their senses sharpened. They could feel the ship's energy flows, the heartbeat of machinery, even the rhythm of humans' movements across the deck. Kai's eyes widened. They had never experienced this before. It wasn't fear, it was awareness. A sudden, intuitive understanding of how systems worked, how energy flowed, how life itself pulsed. Elena, Kai called, voice quivering, something happening. Elena entered swiftly, followed by Malik. The moment they saw Kai, the room seemed charged. The air shimmered faintly as though reacting to an invisible current. Malik's scanner picked up fluctuations beyond human comprehension. Energies that shouldn't exist, patterns that defied physics. Kai, focus, Elena said, crouching to meet their gaze. Breathe. Don't panic. Let it flow. Kai's small frame trembled, but slowly, deliberately, they obeyed. Breathing in, breathing out, feeling the currents. The ship beneath them thrummed in resonance. Lights flickered subtly in response. Energy lines along the walls pulsed. It was as though the Aegis recognized Kai, acknowledged them. Malik muttered under his breath, I've never seen anything like this. It's adaptation at a level I didn't think possible. They're interacting with the ship's systems, mentally, physically, biologically. This is, he trailed off, shaking his head. This is evolution in motion. Kai's eyes glowed faintly with shifting colors, mirroring the energy collar's soft pulses. Their abilities were awakening, not as weapons, not as tools, but as extensions of themselves. Every heartbeat, every thought connected with the environment. Every flick of intention produced a ripple in energy. Elena placed a hand on Kai's shoulder. Kai, you're safe here. Your abilities, they're a gift, not a curse. We'll help you control them. But you need to understand, others will see you as dangerous. Some will fear you. Some will try to take you. Kai nodded, determination hardening within. Fear had been their constant companion, but these humans inspired something new. Hope. Purpose. The alarm system suddenly blared, breaking the fragile calm. The Aegis shuddered slightly as the sensors detected multiple unidentified ships approaching at high velocity. Malik's eyes went wide. They found us. It's the HFY Collective. They've dispatched a fleet. Kai's gaze hardened, their instincts kicking in. The energy within them surged, responding to the danger. The hum of the ship intensified, as though the vessel itself recognized Kai as part of its core. Elena acted quickly. "We're not running," she said firmly. "Kai, focus. Feel the ship. Let it guide you." Kai extended their small hands, and a wave of subtle energy spread from them, brushing over the ship's systems. Consoles flickered, displays shifted, and the engines hummed in harmony with Kai's intent. For a brief moment, humans and child moved as one, synced, connected, unstoppable. The HFY fleet appeared on the main view screen. Sleek, predatory, armed to annihilate. Other species would panic. Other species would flee. But humans didn't. Humans assessed, adapted, and acted. "Elena, what now?" Malik asked, voice tight but controlled. "We show them," Elena said, eyes blazing with resolve. "We are not prey." Kai felt the surge again, stronger this time. The energy collar pulsed wildly, reacting to their heightened state. Their senses extended beyond the ship's walls. They could anticipate movements, predict trajectories, and interface with systems faster than any human could compute. The first HFY ship fired. Plasma streaked across space, aimed to breach the Aegis. But Kai's energy interfaced with the shields. The plasma dissipated harmlessly, redirected in waves that flowed around the vessel. Malik's jaw dropped. They're controlling the shields, mentally?" he whispered. "Yes," Elena said. "And they're just getting started." Kai felt exhilaration mixed with fear. Every action, every thought amplified the ship's systems. Engines surged, weapon systems activated in tandem with Kai's intent. The humans worked alongside them, hands flying across consoles, adjusting trajectories, calibrating defenses. The HFY ships regrouped, attempting to flank the Aegis. Kai extended their perception outward. They could sense energy fields, hull integrity, weapon charge cycles, all before they were visible on any display. With a thought, they redirected the ship's pulse cannons, striking a lead vessel before it could reach firing position. The HFY fleet faltered. Elena's voice was calm, commanding. "Kai, now. Focus on the cluster formation. Predict their next move." Kai nodded, diving deeper into the flow. Energy pulsed through their veins, intertwining with the ship. It was no longer just awareness, it was instinct, coordination, unity. Every system, every crew member, every movement synced with Kai. And then came the moment of clarity. The child realized something profound. Humans weren't just protectors, they were catalysts. They could guide, amplify, and teach potential that no single species could understand alone. Kai wasn't alone anymore. With a final surge of energy, Kai redirected the approaching fleet away from the Aegis. The HFY ships, confused and disrupted by the unexpected defense, retreated into the void. Victory was not absolute, but the message was clear. Humanity was not to be trifled with. The room fell silent after the engagement. Malik stared at the console, disbelief etched across his face. Did they just do that? That child just controlled the entire fleet engagement, and the ship's systems simultaneously. Elena placed a hand on Kai's small shoulder, smiling. "Yes," she said softly. "And this is just the beginning. The galaxy may have turned its back, but we haven't. We never will. And together, we'll show them what it truly means to face humans, and their allies." Kai looked at the stars again, eyes alight with energy and purpose. The galaxy had abandoned them once. But now they were not just surviving, they were awakening. And the ripple they would create, with humanity by their side, would not be ignored. Kai's awakening had changed everything. No longer the timid, abandoned child of the galaxy, they now pulsed with energy that seemed to resonate with life itself. The humans, once strangers, were now allies, mentors, and guides. Every corridor of the Aegis felt alive with possibilities, every hum of the engines echoing the child's newfound connection to the universe. The HFY Collective's retreat had been temporary. Elena had made it clear, the fleet would return. They always did. The galaxy might abandon the weak, but the humans did not. They adapted, they planned, and they struck with precision when the moment demanded it. Kai watched as Elena and Malik coordinated defensive strategies. Maps and holographic displays filled the room, plotting possible trajectories, predicting enemy behavior. Every human aboard moved with efficiency born of generations of survival, yet there was more, imagination, creativity, intuition. It was this combination that fascinated Kai more than anything. Humans weren't perfect, but they were unpredictable, and in a galaxy ruled by rigid patterns, unpredictability was a weapon. Kai, Elena said, crouching beside the child, we need you to understand something before the next attack. They won't just try to destroy us, they'll try to exploit you. The Ithri have ways of sensing and manipulating energy. They might try to turn your own abilities against you. Kai's gaze sharpened. I understand. I won't let them. Malik leaned closer, his usual skeptical expression softened by awe. I've seen your connection with the ship, the shields, the pulse cannons. But this next step? It'll test you and it might hurt. Mentally, physically, it'll push you beyond anything you've ever felt. Kai's small fists clenched. Pain didn't scare them anymore. Fear didn't control them anymore. The humans had taught them that. Their survival had taught them that. And now determination guided every thought. Hours passed in preparation. The Aegis moved silently through the void, a lone predator navigating a labyrinth of potential threats. Kai felt every pulse of the engines, every vibration in the hull, every subtle shift in energy as if the ship were an extension of their own body. Then the alert sounded. A new fleet appeared, larger, more coordinated, more lethal than before. The Ithri collective had returned, flanking from multiple directions. Plasma streaks lit up the void like deadly fireflies. Elena's voice rang out with calm authority. All hands brace for engagement. Kai, feel the flow. Anticipate their moves. Kai's eyes glowed brighter, the energy collar responding to their heightened state. They extended their senses, reaching beyond the ship, into the patterns of movement, into the subtle energy signatures of the approaching vessels. Every action, every intent, every pulse could be felt and, to some extent, predicted. The first salvo hit and the Aegis trembled. Yet Kai's control was instant. Energy rippled outward, dispersing plasma strikes before they could breach the hull. The shields pulsed in synchrony with Kai's thoughts, bending, redirecting, neutralizing the attacks. Malik watched, mouth agape. They're controlling the battle. Literally controlling it. But Kai wasn't done. The Ithri fleet had made a mistake. They assumed the humans' only strength was their ships. They underestimated the bond between Kai and the Aegis. Focusing, Kai extended their reach further. Systems flickered under their guidance, engines accelerated, weapons recalibrated in anticipation of enemy maneuvers. And then, with a subtle gesture, the pulse cannons discharged, not in panic, not in anger, but with perfect timing. Lead Ithri ships were disabled before they could launch a second attack. Elena's voice was calm but edged with pride. Kai, you're exceeding expectations. Keep going. Don't stop. Kai felt a strange exhilaration. It was no longer fear. It was connection. Power. Responsibility. Every strike, every defensive move, every pulse of energy, was an extension of themselves, but also of the humans around them. Together, they formed a rhythm that no enemy had ever encountered. The battle raged for what felt like hours. The Ithri were skilled, but they relied on predictable patterns and sheer firepower. Kai's instincts, amplified by the humans' ingenuity, countered every move. Hull integrity remained stable, shields held strong, and the enemy faltered. At one point, a Ithri ship managed to penetrate the outer defenses, closing rapidly on the Aegis. Kai acted instinctively. Extending their energy outward, they created a field that slowed the incoming vessel, bending space subtly, redirecting it harmlessly away. The humans aboard executed evasive maneuvers, making the strike seem impossible to succeed. Malik whispered, almost to himself, it's like they're rewriting the rules of physics. But Kai's mind was elsewhere. They weren't just defending, they were learning. Every move the Ithri made, every attack, every strategy became data. Patterns formed, weaknesses emerged. The humans around them noticed it too, adjusting tactics mid-battle with fluidity that seemed impossible. Finally, with a combined effort, the Aegis struck back. Pulse cannons, missiles, and Kai's energy fields worked in perfect concert. Lead Ithri ships were crippled, formations scattered, and the rest of the fleet, now demoralized and confused, began to retreat. The room fell silent as the last enemy vessel disappeared into the void. Exhaustion swept through the crew, but pride and awe lingered stronger. Kai's chest heaved, their body trembling with the energy they had channeled. Elena knelt beside them, voice soft but firm. Kai, you've done more than survive. You've defended us, guided us, and changed the course of this engagement. The galaxy will remember this day, not because of the ships but because of you. Kai looked around, seeing the humans not as strangers, not as saviors but as partners, as a family. They had felt abandoned, feared, and alone. Now they were part of something bigger, something unstoppable. Malik finally broke his stunned silence. I don't even know what to say. That was incredible. You've changed everything. Kai smiled faintly, exhaustion shadowing their features. We, all of us, together. Elena stood, placing a hand gently on Kai's head. Yes, together. And the galaxy will learn one way or another that humans, our allies, our family, are not to be underestimated. Outside the Aegis, stars shimmered silently, indifferent to the struggles of the few within the ship. Yet, inside, a child who had once been abandoned now pulsed with potential, guiding a new era of cooperation, courage, and unstoppable ingenuity. The first strike was won, but the war, the real challenge, was just beginning. Kai looked to the stars and whispered, almost to themselves, "They'll never abandon me again. Not while we stand together." And for the first time they truly believed it. The victory of the first strike still hummed in the air, but it was a fragile peace. The HFY Collective was known for patience, for strategy, and above all, for retaliation. The humans aboard the Aegis understood this. Elena's face, calm yet tense, reflected the silent calculations of a seasoned commander. "We can't stay in one place for long," she said, addressing the crew. "They'll regroup and strike where we are weakest. Kai, your role is vital. We need to anticipate them before they act." Kai nodded, their eyes glowing faintly. The child had grown in leaps and bounds since joining the humans. Every new maneuver, every strategy session, every battle had honed their instincts. Yet something about this felt different. The HFY weren't just attacking, they were learning, evolving. Malik approached Kai, his expression a mix of admiration and caution. "Last battle, you were incredible. But this time it won't be the same. They'll use trickery, deception, maybe even force you to choose between the crew and yourself." Kai swallowed, a weight settling in their chest. "I'm ready. I won't let them hurt anyone. Not again." The Aegis moved silently through a dense nebula, its hull blending with the swirling clouds of gas. It was a perfect hiding spot, or so the humans hoped. Sensors scanned continuously, every flicker of energy monitored. Kai closed their eyes, reaching out with their senses, trying to detect the faintest pulse of the approaching fleet. Hours passed in tense silence. Then a whisper of disturbance rippled through the nebula. Kai's body tensed. "They're here," they said, voice barely above a whisper. Elena and Malik were instantly alert. "All hands, battle stations," Elena ordered. The crew moved with precision, every action rehearsed countless times. But there was an unease in the air, a recognition that this attack would be different. The HFY fleet emerged from the nebula like predators from the shadows. Their ships were smaller, faster, and more numerous. Plasma trails cut through the darkness as they surrounded the Aegis, using the nebula to conceal their numbers. Kai's pulse quickened. They extended their senses outward, trying to anticipate movements, but something was off. The HFY were masking their energy signatures, hiding intentions. It was the first time Kai felt uncertain, vulnerable. "Trust your instincts," Elena said, placing a hand on Kai's shoulder. "We've survived worse because we trust each other. Focus, Kai." Kai closed their eyes and felt the Aegis respond to them, the ship's systems humming in synchrony. Slowly, a pattern emerged in the chaos, a rhythm, subtle but consistent. The HFY were attempting a flanking maneuver, splitting into 3 divisions. "Divide our defense accordingly," Kai whispered. The ship responded almost instantly. Energy shields shifted, turrets repositioned, and escape routes were calculated with precision. The humans aboard moved seamlessly, trusting Kai's guidance. The first wave hit. Plasma blasts screamed through the void, but the Aegis absorbed and redirected the energy with Kai's control. Smaller HFY vessels attempted ramming strikes, but the ship twisted and dodged, guided by Kai's instinctual connection. Malik shouted, "They're faster this time. Keep them off balance." Kai focused harder, pushing past the fear creeping at the edges of their mind. Every strike, every movement, every pulse of energy was calculated. They could feel the enemy's frustration mounting, subtle fluctuations in energy betraying their impatience. Suddenly, a sharp pulse struck the Aegis from within the nebula, bypassing the shields. Kai's body jerked involuntarily as energy surged through them. It wasn't just an attack, it was an attempt to manipulate them, to force them to falter. "Hold on," Elena yelled, rushing to stabilize the systems. Kai gritted their teeth, summoning every ounce of focus. They pushed back, redirecting the energy outward, forming a barrier of pure force that scattered the incoming attack. Their body trembled, exhausted from the strain, but the Ithri fleet faltered. "Now," Kai whispered, eyes glowing fiercely. They channeled a controlled burst of energy not just at the ships, but at the patterns of their movement, subtly nudging the battlefield in favor of the Aegis. Ships collided, formations broke, and confusion spread through the enemy ranks. Elena smiled faintly, watching the tide turn. "Well done, Kai. You've turned their deception against them." But the battle was far from over. The Ithri were adaptive, and the child's exhaustion was beginning to show. Kai felt the weight of responsibility pressing down like a physical force. One wrong move, one lapse in focus, and the fleet, and the humans, could suffer catastrophic losses. Kai steadied themselves, taking a deep breath. The humans around them were more than allies, they were family. Their determination hardened. They would not fail. Not now. Not ever. Outside, the void remained silent, indifferent, and vast. Yet aboard the Aegis, a small group of humans and a once-abandoned child had proven that courage, ingenuity, and unity could defy even the most relentless of enemies. Kai whispered to themselves, voice trembling but resolute, "We're not just surviving, we're fighting back." And as the stars flickered in the distance, a new chapter of defiance had begun. The aftermath of the last encounter left the Aegis battered but intact. Kai's energy reserves had been pushed to their limits, and even the ship's reinforced hull bore the scars of close encounters. Yet, for the humans aboard, retreat was never an option. They knew the Ithri were preparing something more, something that could not be anticipated through brute force alone. Elena studied the navigation maps, her brow furrowed. "They're not attacking randomly anymore. Look here, every skirmish is designed to herd us into specific sectors. It's as if they're guiding us, waiting for something." Malik leaned over the console, his fingers tapping rapidly. "I've never seen patterns like this. It's deliberate, almost like they want us to see it. To lead us somewhere." Kai, still recovering from the last battle, closed their eyes and reached out with their senses. The nebula around them hummed faintly, not with danger but with a strange, unfamiliar energy. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Kai's instincts screamed caution. "They're baiting us," Kai whispered. "Something's waiting." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Elena's voice was calm but carried steel. "Then we prepare for it. Kai, I want full integration with the ship. Every system, every sensor, use them. Malik, reroute power to shields and weapons. We don't know what's coming, but we'll face it together." For the next several hours, the humans maneuvered cautiously through the nebula, each turn calculated, each movement deliberate. Kai's connection to the ship allowed them to anticipate subtle shifts in energy, subtle patterns that would be invisible to any ordinary sensor. And yet, with every step forward, the unease grew heavier. Then the nebula opened into a vast, uncharted expanse. Stars glimmered faintly through the dense gas, but at the center of the void floated something impossible. A massive structure, dark and angular, its surface pulsating with a strange, otherworldly energy. It was unlike any Ithri vessel they had ever encountered, towering, almost cathedral-like, exuding a malevolent intelligence. Elena's voice barely carried over the comms. That's their weapon. The Ithri built this for a reason." Kai's senses flared, detecting not just energy but intent. The structure seemed alive, as if it could perceive them. A shiver ran down their spine. "It's not just a ship," Kai murmured. "It's a predator." Malik swallowed hard. "We've never faced anything like this. What do we do?" Kai took a deep breath, forcing calm into their voice. "We observe first. We learn its patterns. If we rush in, we'll be destroyed." The Aegis drifted cautiously, cloaked in the shadows of the nebula. They watched as the massive structure began to awaken. Energy conduits along its surface flared with a terrible rhythm, sending waves of psychic resonance through space. The humans felt it even inside the reinforced hull, a weight pressing on their minds, testing their resolve. Kai staggered slightly, clutching the console. "It's probing us, trying to break us, to understand our weaknesses." Elena's hand tightened on the control rail. "We've faced worse odds before and we survived. We adapt, Kai. That's what makes us human." Hours turned into tense observation. The weapon, whatever it was, emitted pulses that disrupted communications and distorted space around it. Smaller Ithri ships, almost drone-like, swarmed around it, forming protective formations. But amidst the chaos, Kai noticed a vulnerability, a pattern in the pulses. They weren't random, they followed a sequence. "They're overconfident," Kai said. "They think we're just reacting. But if we can predict the pulse pattern, we can exploit it. Elena's eyes narrowed. A plan then. We strike at the heart of that weapon using their own pattern against them. But it will be risky. Kai, are you sure you can handle it? Kai nodded, determination hardening their resolve. I don't have a choice. If we fail, everything we've fought for will be lost. The humans prepared for the assault. Shields were reinforced, weapons aligned, and every system synced with Kai's instincts. They moved in closer to the massive weapon, every step deliberate, every breath measured. As they approached, the Ithri drones attacked. Plasma bursts lit the void, but Kai's connection to the ship allowed the Aegis to dance through the chaos. Every attack was countered, every movement anticipated. Yet, the drones were only a distraction, the real threat awaited at the center. Finally, the humans reached striking distance. The weapon pulsed again, this time with intensity that rattled the ship. Kai reached out, focusing their mind, tracing the rhythm of the energy waves. Slowly, painfully they found the sequence, a vulnerable gap that could be exploited. Now, Kai whispered. The Aegis surged forward, weapons firing in perfect synchronization with the pulse pattern. Energy blasts struck the massive structure at precisely calculated intervals, exploiting the gap before it could regenerate. The weapon shuddered, its dark surface cracking under the concentrated assault. Drones exploded in cascade, formations collapsing. But the structure retaliated, sending a massive psychic pulse that knocked the Aegis off course. Systems flickered, alarms blared, and the crew struggled to maintain control. Kai gritted their teeth, channeling every ounce of energy into synchronizing with the ship. Hold on. We can do this. Elena shouted orders, guiding the crew, stabilizing the ship and reinforcing shields. Malik worked furiously to maintain weapons systems, recalibrating turrets to adjust for the psychic interference. With one final, synchronized effort, Kai directed the Aegis's energy into the heart of the weapon. A blinding pulse of light erupted, shaking the void. The massive structure convulsed, energy veins snapping, drones disintegrating, and then, silence. The void was still. The weapon, once a looming predator, lay fractured and powerless, drifting in the darkness. The humans aboard the Aegis exhaled collectively, relief mingled with exhaustion. Kai slumped in their seat, drained but alive. Elena placed a hand on their shoulder, voice gentle but firm. You did it, Kai. You saved us all. Kai looked out at the fractured remains of the Ithri weapon, awe and exhaustion mingling. We did it, together. For the first time, the child allowed themselves to smile, the weight of responsibility lifted slightly. Humanity had faced the predator and survived, not through sheer might alone, but through unity, ingenuity, and the courage to adapt when faced with the unknown. Malik glanced at the distant stars, voice quiet. They'll regroup. They always do. But now they know they're not facing helpless prey. They're facing humans, and we won't back down. Kai nodded, a spark of resolve igniting anew. Then we keep moving forward. No matter what they throw at us, no matter how impossible it seems, we survive. We fight. We endure. We are human. As the Aegis drifted through the void, battered but unbroken, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. Humanity had proven once again that even against unimaginable odds, they were not to be underestimated. And in the darkness beyond, the remnants of the Ithri weapon floated silently, a reminder that while victory was hard-won, the war was far from over. The void was quiet now, the fractured remnants of the Ithri weapon drifting like a ghostly monument to what had almost destroyed them. But the humans aboard the Aegis knew that silence was deceptive. The Ithri were survivors, calculating, relentless, and dangerous beyond measure. Their defeat of the massive weapon was only temporary. The real war was still ahead. Kai surveyed the stars through the reinforced viewport, the weight of responsibility pressing on them like a living thing. They'll come for us, they murmured, voice low but steady. They'll strike harder, faster, and smarter than before. Elena stepped up beside them, her expression resolute. Then we'll be ready. Humanity has never survived by hiding. We adapt. We fight. And we endure. The Aegis altered course, heading toward the Ithri's main fleet, which had been regrouping at the edge of the Andros cluster. Reports from scouts indicated that the Ithri were consolidating forces, preparing what seemed to be a final offensive. The humans had one advantage: knowledge. They had seen the weapon's patterns, its vulnerabilities, and its design flaws. They had learned how the Ithri thought, how they reacted, and most importantly, they had seen that even the greatest predator could be outsmarted. Malik adjusted the ship's tactical grid, his fingers flying over the controls. Our sensors indicate several massive cruisers. Enough firepower to crush us if we approach head-on. But I've mapped the weak points from the last encounter. We can exploit them. Kai nodded, closing their eyes briefly to connect with the Aegis. Every sensor, every subsystem, every weapon synced with their instincts. It was no longer just a ship. They were an extension of Kai's will, a single consciousness ready to challenge the impossible. As the human fleet emerged from the nebula, the Ithri fleet reacted instantly. Dark, angular vessels surged forward, energy spikes illuminating the void with deadly precision. The humans were outnumbered, but their determination was unwavering. Elena issued the orders with calm authority, each command precise and decisive. Flank the left wing. Kai, guide our energy pulses. Malik, synchronize weapon strikes. Everyone else, hold formation. We fight as one. The battle began with a sudden ferocity. Energy beams tore through space, detonations lighting up the void like artificial stars. Ithri cruisers were fast and adaptive, but the humans were unpredictable, their maneuvers unconventional, defying every expectation. Kai guided the Aegis through the chaos, weaving between volleys of plasma and debris. Every attack was met with a counterstrike, every feint a trap for the enemy. And then at the center of the battlefield they saw it, the Ithri flagship, larger and more menacing than any ship they had faced, bristling with weapons, its surface crackling with energy. Elena's voice cut through the comms. That's their command vessel. Take it down and the fleet will falter. Kai, this is your moment. Kai's pulse quickened. The Aegis surged forward, a single streak of silver against the darkness. They traced the vessel's energy flows, noting weaknesses in its defense pattern. Timing was everything. One wrong move and the humans would be annihilated. The flagship's weapons fired, each strike devastating, but Kai anticipated the sequences, guiding the Aegis with uncanny precision. Human ingenuity was at work. Weapon systems adapted mid-battle, shields reinforced in seconds, and strategy evolved with every pulse. Malik's voice was steady, even as alarms blared. Shields holding. Weapons online. Ready to fire on your mark, Kai. Kai's eyes glowed with determination. Now, all systems focus fire on the central conduit. Hit it with everything we have. Energy beams converged on the conduit, striking in perfect synchronization with the Aegis's movement. The Ithri flagship convulsed, systems failing one after another. Explosions rippled across its surface, tearing apart the alien architecture from within. Yet, the flagship retaliated, releasing a wave of energy that threw the Aegis off course. Alarms screamed and systems flickered dangerously. Kai gritted their teeth, pouring every ounce of focus into stabilizing the ship, guiding it like a conductor commanding a symphony of survival. With a final, desperate push, the humans unleashed their ultimate strike, a combination of energy pulses and precision weapon fire, synchronized perfectly with the flagship's destabilized patterns. The conduit ruptured, the vessel detonated from within, and a shockwave rippled across the battlefield. One by one the Ithri ships faltered. Without the flagship's command, their formations collapsed. Human forces advanced, exploiting the disarray, and systematically dismantled the remaining cruisers. Kai slumped back in the command chair, exhaustion washing over them. The void was silent once again, but this time it was victory, not foreboding. Elena approached, a small smile breaking through the fatigue. We did it. Humanity prevailed. Malik exhaled, leaning against the console. They underestimated us. Every step of the way. But we survived and we proved that even against impossible odds, we endure. Kai looked out at the field of broken ships, remnants of the Ithri fleet drifting silently. It wasn't just survival, they said softly. It was humanity's strength, our ingenuity, our unity, our courage. They saw us as prey, but we showed them we are predators in our own right. The child, the one who had watched the galaxy turn its back, stood silently, eyes reflecting both the devastation and the triumph. They will remember this, the child whispered. They will know that humans do not submit, do not yield, and do not falter. Elena nodded. And we will continue. Always forward, never back. That is what it means to be human. As the Aegis and the surviving fleet charted a course back to human-controlled space, the stars seemed to shine with a newfound brilliance. Humanity had survived the unthinkable, had faced the predatory Ithri, and had emerged stronger than ever. The galaxy would remember this day, the day when humans against all odds defied extinction, challenged the invaders and carved their legacy into the stars. Kai allowed themselves a rare moment of peace, their gaze fixed on the infinite expanse. We are human, they whispered. and nothing will ever change that. In the darkness beyond, the Ithri would regroup, learn, and perhaps return. But the humans had proven a simple truth. No matter the odds, no matter the weapon, no matter the predator, humanity endures. Humanity triumphs. Humanity conquers. And so, in the vast endless galaxy, the legend of the humans, the carnivorous yet ingenious, unstoppable species, was written into the stars. The galaxy had changed. In the aftermath of the Ithri defeat, whispers of humanity spread like starlight through the void. Traders, explorers, and diplomats told tales of the carnivorous humans, who had defied impossible odds and survived when the galaxy expected them to fall. Yet, among those whispers, few understood the truth. Humanity's strength was not in their weapons nor in their numbers, but in their resilience, ingenuity, and an unyielding will to survive. Kai stood on the observation deck of the Aegis, watching the human fleet scatter across the Andros cluster. Every ship represented a story of courage, sacrifice, and brilliance. The fleet had lost many, but each loss had been a seed for the future. Humanity had endured the first strike of the Ithri, and now they were stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Elena joined Kai, her steps quiet but purposeful. "The Council will call us heroes," she said. "But we know the truth, don't we? This isn't about glory. It's about survival, and making sure the next generation never faces what we did unprepared." Kai nodded, fingers brushing over the cold glass of the viewport. "We've made them remember. The Ithri, the galaxy, even the child we protected. Humanity's story will endure because we never accepted defeat." The child, now no longer frightened but fully aware of their place in the universe, stepped forward. Their eyes glowed faintly with gratitude and awe. "I've seen civilizations rise and fall," they whispered, voice carrying both wonder and fear. "But humans do not submit. You taught me that even when the universe turns its back, hope can survive." Kai smiled, the exhaustion of countless battles weighing on them but unable to dim their spirit. "Hope isn't enough on its own. You need determination, courage, and creativity. You need to be willing to look at the impossible and say, 'We will find a way.' That is humanity." Meanwhile, news of humanity's triumph reached distant systems. Worlds that had once regarded humans as primitive or inconsequential now offered cautious alliances. Some sought to learn from them, others to profit from their ingenuity, and a few, fearful of their growing reputation, watched from afar with wary respect. Humanity was no longer a footnote in the galactic record. They were becoming a force, a legend in motion. But victory had its shadows. Among the fleet, whispers of concern circulated. The Ithri might have been beaten, but they were not destroyed. Their species was cunning, relentless, and adaptive. It was only a matter of time before they returned, more determined, more dangerous, and more unpredictable than ever before. The galaxy was vast and humanity was still young. Survival required more than just courage. It required vision, foresight, and unity. Malik approached Kai and Elena with a hollow map of the Andros cluster. "Our analysis shows Ithri activity on several outer systems," he said. "They're rebuilding, but the signs are subtle. If we act wisely, we can establish a buffer zone, ensure no world is threatened without warning." Elena's eyes narrowed, determination sparking in their gaze. "Then we'll create one. Not for conquest, not for power, but for protection. Humanity will not just survive the next attack, we'll ensure it never catches anyone unprepared again." Kai placed a hand on the console, the hum of the fleet beneath them resonating through the deck. "We've learned something essential through this war. Survival isn't just about the strong or the fast, it's about adaptability. It's about seeing what others cannot, imagining what others dismiss, and acting where others hesitate. That is what makes humans dangerous." The child watched quietly, absorbing every word. "You truly are unlike any species I've seen," they murmured. "You fight with teeth, yes, but also with minds, hearts, and courage that cannot be measured. The galaxy will remember this, and I will make sure the story spreads." Over the following months, humanity's influence expanded. Outposts were established on previously unclaimed worlds. Research stations studied the remnants of Ithri technology, not to wield it as a weapon, but to understand it, to prevent any civilization from wielding it against them again. Trade and diplomacy flourished, alliances formed not just out of necessity, but out of mutual respect for humanity's ingenuity. Kai and Elena often returned to the site of the final battle, a debris field now slowly becoming a monument to survival. Floating among the wreckage, the remnants of Ithri ships became a symbol, a reminder that victory was never guaranteed, but that courage, creativity, and determination could defy even the most terrifying odds. One evening, as the twin suns of a distant system set in brilliant streaks of gold and crimson, Kai spoke to the fleet's officers. "We have seen what the galaxy is capable of," they said. "And we have seen what we are capable of in return. The universe will continue to test us, but we will meet each challenge as humans have always done, together with ingenuity and with the will to endure. Our legacy begins now, and it will never be forgotten." Elena added, voice steady and commanding, "Let every world that hears our story know this: humans do not submit. Humans do not retreat. And humans, when pushed to the brink, rise higher than any threat, any predator, any challenge. The galaxy will remember that, and the Ithri will too." In the deep reaches of space, the child looked up at the stars, their eyes reflecting the brilliance of countless human worlds. "You've changed the galaxy," they whispered. "And perhaps, humanity will inspire more than fear. Perhaps it will inspire hope." Kai smiled, their gaze unwavering. "That is the ultimate victory. Survival is important, but inspiration, that is immortal." And so humanity's legend grew. Ships sailed farther, colonies flourished, and knowledge spread across the stars. Every challenge became a lesson, every encounter a test of resilience. The galaxy that once turned its back now watched with awe, fear, and respect. Humanity was no longer merely survivors. They were the architects of their destiny, the bearers of hope, and the living proof that even in the darkest void, light could emerge unstoppable. The stars shimmered, silent witnesses to a species that refused to yield. And in every corner of the universe, those who had doubted humanity now whispered the same name with reverence. Humans, the carnivorous, ingenious, indomitable humans. The legacy of humanity had begun. And it would echo across the galaxy for millennia.